Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Park Street Collegiate from Orillia, Ontario. They will perform a 7-act production designed to promote workplace safety in an energetic and unique way for all young workers. The production is under the direction of Leanna Neal.
Five, 6, 7, 8.
7. 7. 7. 7.
7 things you'd better know.
7 things you'd better know. 7 things you'd better know. 7 things you'd better know. 7 things you'd better know. 7 things you'd better know.
Hazards in every workplace.
Hazards. See them, see them, see them.
Taste them, taste them, taste them.
Smell them, smell them, smell them.
Hear them, hear them, hear them.
Feel them, feel them, feel them.
You, the young and experienced workers, are most at risk.
Risk. Please stop crying. I'm right here. Why won't anyone acknowledge me? Mom. Dad. Answer me! It was my first real job. Dad was so proud. My boss told me that I need steel-toe boots and safety goggles. As I walked around the factory, I was told that concentration was the most important thing while working. I signed all the paperwork and medical forms and started training the next day. I was ready to prove to myself that this is what I wanted to do as a future career. I showed up early, eager, all equipped. Working on the cutting machine required a lot of focus. I noticed that many of the workers never paid any attention to the rules of wearing safety goggles. They never got in trouble for it, so I thought it really wasn't a big deal. Just before I cut the last piece of metal for the day, there was a terrible scream. Everyone panicked and dropped everything that they were doing. Lights and sirens were everywhere around me. My heart was racing. That's when I noticed that the terrible scream belonged to me, that everyone was running to my aid. The more my heart beat in fear, the shorter breaths I had left. If only I had been trained more thoroughly, I wouldn't be watching my family cry as they put me to rest.
Carpenter.
Pass the hammer, please. Thank you. Don't forget your hard hat.
Hard hat? What's that?
Hard hats are for losers.
Loser.
Sometimes the easiest way isn't always the best way. A busload of students get hurt every day. Do you want to take that chance? Chance. Well,
You can get a lot more done in a day if you stop worrying about the little details of being safe.
What you don't know won't hurt you.
I've always wanted to be a carpenter. Ever since I was a little kid, that's all I could picture myself doing. So when I finally had the opportunity to work in a real wood shop, I was more than excited. I arrived precisely at 3 p.m. to begin my interview. My supervisor shook my hand, sat me down, and conducted the interview. He asked me the basic questions, what he thought my best qualities were, what he thought I could bring to the workplace, and after a while, I got the sense that he was really impressed with me. But before he could officially offer me the job, he made me watch this boring safety video. I acted like I was paying attention. But really, I was going to jump into my skin watching that video. It went over all the procedures that were available to me in case of emergency, and the consequences that would result if I didn't follow these procedures to the fullest. After a while, he shut off the video and asked me what I thought. And when I told him I was eager to start, he asked me if I could start later that day. I had no choice but to say yes. Again, I arrived on time to start my brand new career. And when I arrived at the shop, he partnered me with this goofy looking guy that I could tell paid less attention to safety videos than I did, because he was wearing no goggles and no gloves. No more than 20 minutes into my shift, he said he was getting bored and asked me if I wanted to have a little fun. We removed the piece of wood we were working on and began chucking it around the wood shop. It seemed really immature, and I neglected to follow my first instinct and say no, and said yes, because I didn't want to seem like an underdog on my first day. Then my supervisor appeared, and he was livid. He tore into me, asking whether or not I had even paid attention to the safety videos. And then he turned to my partner and said he was tired of this. If he caught him pulling this crap one more time, he'd be fired, right there on the spot. But my partner just shrugged it off. I had a feeling that these altercations happened a lot between him and my supervisor. Because no more than 30 minutes later, we did the same exact thing that got us in trouble in the first place. We were having fun. We were actually having a lot of it. Until it happened. We began throwing the wood, but he didn't catch it. It hit him in the eye, hard. He was just stumbling and bleeding. And then he fell, right onto the belt sander. He just laid there screaming and bleeding. And my supervisor came out asking me what happened. But I couldn't get the words to come from my throat. They all just came out as screams. He fired me right there on the spot. But that's not important. My partner lost a lot more than his job that day. He'll never be the same again. Not after the accident.
Everything that was there, that was a threat to you. How could you not see it was a hazard to you? Now look what's happened.
That place was a death trap. From the physical hazards of the saws to the slippery floors to that toxic loop no one even knew the name of. Even though lighting wasn't safe in there, now look what's happened. Your injuries could have been acute, instant, like a finger in a solid, or chronic, like toxic cancer that festers inside your body after months of exposure. Now look what's happened. You know you had the legal right to protect your own health and safety.
You were protected under the Occupational Health and Safety Act.
You had the right to know about all that unsafe work. And you had the right to make it better by participating with the safety committee. Write it down. No matter how big or how small your injury is at work, you have to report it. We shouldn't be here.
But most importantly, you had the right to refuse unsafe work. Your employer can't get mad. It's the law. But you didn't. Look what's happened now.
Our campus was secluded in the woods. We were within easy walking distance of a good-sized lake. We had many paddle boats and canoes, as well as many high wires for treetop trekking. The kids were always active at our summer camp. I had been a counselor for about 4 years when I finally got promoted to head counselor. I wasn't the oldest, but I did have a great deal of experience. I loved my job, and my future ambition was to run my own summer camp. I had even talked to the camp manager about my career goals. He said I'd be a great candidate as his replacement when he retired. I loved it all. The lakes, the trees, the cabins, everything. It was all so perfect. Until that day. I woke up at 6, as usual, and had started making breakfast. I remember the sunrise as the light danced on the lake, and I can still hear the birds singing. After breakfast, I was in charge of taking the 12 and 13-year-olds treetop trekking. I had another senior counselor come along, just for good measure. We helped everyone into their harnesses and double-checked to make sure each was secure and correct. I didn't put a harness on myself, because I was going to watch from below to make sure the children had the correct footing. The other counselor made sure each camper was securely